She's not.
Hey, Nick, can you tell Liz she's in the wrong meeting? Never mind.
All right, let's get started. The date is March 11th, 2025. The time is 5:30 p.m. This is City Council regular meeting. Item 1, can I get a roll call?
Councilor Bosmans,
Present.
Councilor Youssef,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Yazi, Mayor Buell,
Here.
and Councilor Woodruff.
Here.
Item 1.1, reading of the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. This is a call to honor and respect Indigenous sovereignty and self-determination. As residents and visitors of Durango, we are called upon to educate ourselves about the history and cultural heritage of the land we inhabit. The city of Durango is situated on the ancestral homelands and territories of the Nuchu, Ute, Jicarilla, Apache, Pueblos of New Mexico, Hopi-Sinam, Hopi, and Diné Navajo nations. The original stewards of this land were forcibly removed and exposed to countless atrocities by the United States government, including repeatedly broken treaties, forced assimilation, the tragic legacy of Indian boarding schools, and the loss of ancestral homelands. We recognize lasting generational trauma exists within Native communities today. We affirm the continuing importance of ancestral sites to descendant communities as integral to the living cultural landscape. This acknowledgement only becomes meaningful when combined with accountable relationships and informed actions. May this serve as a step towards inclusion and reconciliation. All right, item 2, the introduction of the translator. Is the translator online?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Liz Torres, and I am here with the Community Language Co-op with my colleague, B. Torres. And today we're going to interpret simultaneously, and we want you to turn your language on through the More menu, and you can access language and speech, and then the interpretation language. We also want to remind everybody to speak at a conversational pace so that we can accurately portray your message. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Liz Torres y estoy aquí con mi colega Vi Torres. Estamos aquí con la Cooperativa Comunitaria de Lenguaje y el día de hoy vamos a interpretar del inglés al español. Y entonces, por favor, si necesita usted cambiar del idioma, puede tener acceso por el menú de More o de Más y allí puede hacer clic en lenguaje y allí puede tener acceso a la interpretación. Muchas gracias. We can go ahead and get it started.
Excellent. Item 3, opening remarks by Mayor and Council. Does anyone have any opening remarks? Okay. Item 4, presentations and proclamations. We have none. Item 5, city manager updates.
No updates tonight.
Item 6, committee, board, and liaison reports. Want to get us started?
It was a short week, but in the week between last meeting and today, I had the opportunity to go to the Native Lens Media Showcase, where it was part of the Durango Independent Film Festival, which was awesome to have back in town again. But the Native Lens Media Showcase really provided a forum for Native American storytelling through film. And it was Native American tribes from all over the country, but we had some good representation at the Southern Ute and Ute Mountain Ute tribes on some of that. But I think as important, I was able to go along with the Board of County Commissioners Chair, Marsha Porter Norton. And we got to sit next to each other and we got to talk and hang out and experience that amazing event together and really truly be inspired by some of those stories. But we both kind of took a step back from kind of all the hubbub of what's been going on in the last few months. And we agreed to come have coffee and meet together and talk about what do next steps look like. So it's good to see more than just one counselor having a good relationship with the county. So it's good to be able to provide a little bit more context that we can move forward and work together and be more unified. So it was good to be able to show that there is a path forward. So it was great.
I'm glad to hear that. Excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, I would second that, Councillor Woodruff. I've regarding relationships with the county, just to I've had the fortunate opportunity myself of working on the Wildfire Watershed Protection Fund with Marsha Porter Norton. We helped implement the whole thing, and it was a very productive process and very fortuitous, really, truly, for the entire community in that regard with that. So I wanted to thank you for that. And I would just wanted to say that we had the opportunity to conduct our quarterly evaluations of our city manager, city attorney, and municipal judge today. And I think it's just, I want to reiterate how important it is that council takes the opportunity to participate in these quarterly evaluations to provide feedback and input to our 3 appointees. I want to reiterate how important it is to have productive working relationships between council and staff. This is truly the one thing that determines whether a city thrives or collapses, and that is the relationship between elected officials and city staff. And I have appreciated the opportunity to participate. It's about the opportunity to ensure that everybody understands each other's roles and the important roles that elected officials and city staff plays. And I just wanted to suggest that those were very productive quarterly evaluations. I'm very glad we had the opportunity to take them, and I wanted to thank our city staff.
Excellent. I wasn't at the city council meeting last Tuesday, and I just want to thank my fellow councilors for letting me have time with my family. I had a family emergency, and it was good to have support from you guys to miss that meeting. So thank you. And so I have a couple weeks to catch up on, and as a counselor rerunning, and I'm sure Councilor Bosmans can attest to this, it's been a wild couple weeks. I want to thank Nina, Chamber of Commerce, League of Women Voters, La Plata Forum, and the Boulevard neighborhood for the forums that were hosted and how much they're really getting good questions to council candidates and stuff. It's been great. There is one tonight, the Three Springs Forum, that obviously Councilor Bosmans and I can't attend because we have a city council meeting. But if you want to attend the last one, I believe our last one is on Thursday, Bike Durango at Zia Cantina. So Thursday evening, we have our last City Council Candidate Forum. I've had meetings with constituents. I've had meeting about bid, meetings about rent control legislation coming out, a meeting about the unhoused, and then a meeting on public engagement with different constituents. So that's been great. I've had a couple MIAC meetings, the Mayor Youth Advisory Commission. We're working on a partnership with the Southern Ute Indian Tribe right now. So great, another partnership we have going forward, good relationship there. Councilwoman Barry and I are taking MIAC and then their Southern Ute Indian Tribe Youth Advisory Commission, and we're going to do a regional outreach there. So that's exciting. And then this is fun. MIAC is working on a couple of events at the different high schools to weigh in on what 2A, the Parks and Rec funding, what it should go to. And so they're going to bribe high school students to come in and kind of put their tokens into different projects that they think that 2A should go out and support. So that is great and exciting. And that group of engaged students is super fun. And then I've had a couple alliance meetings as well in the last couple weeks. At the board meeting, we talked about the Catalyst Fund. Round 5 is going to close at the end of March. 3 grants closed in January, and we have 3 more that are anticipated to close mid-year. The RHA finished their housing needs assessment. It's complete, and it's available at laplatahousing.colorado.gov if you want to check it out. The Regional Housing Alliance 2025 Southwest Housing Summit will be on April 29th for those that want to attend, so mark your calendars. There's going to be a presentation at the library on March 12th on the Child Care Investment Strategy Plan. I know we got an update on it, but if anyone with the public wants to get an update on it, you can see it tomorrow from 5 to 7 at the public library. We got a summit committee update. The theme is approved for the La Plata Economic Development Annual Summit in September, and it's rooted in community. So that's exciting. And then at the investor meeting today, we had presentations by the Southwest Colorado Education Collaboration about building career pathways in that program. It's mostly for students like 9th through 12th grade to kind of find their career path. It's pretty cool. Region 9 gave a presentation about livable wage. They just had some new statistics come out. And then, yeah, I think that's about it. Fun and exciting. All right, moving on. Anyone else have anything? No? Item 7, public comment on action items only.
Public comment is encouraged on agenda items set for consideration and a vote by the council tonight. Public comments on items not set for consideration by the council come later in the meeting. Please begin your comments by stating the agenda items set for a vote you intend to speak on, your full name, and if you are a resident of the city of Durango. Make your comments directly to the council. Do not expect a response from the council or staff. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, unless modified by the council. Unused time is not transferable to other speakers. Comments must be specific to the item you identified when you began your comments. Profanity, hate speech, personally derogatory remarks, speech unrelated to the item you identified, or other speech that is disruptive to the meeting will be ruled out of order by the chair, and any remaining time will be forfeited by the speaker. Exceeding the time limit infringes on the rights of others and is out of order. Only a majority vote of the council can modify time limits. Please note, you must sign up prior to the mayor calling the item on the agenda. Signing up after the item is called will result in your name not being called to speak.
All right, do we have anyone signed up for public comment on agenda?
Thank you, Mayor. No one had signed up to speak on agenda-related items.
Okay. So moving along, we have item 8, our consent agenda. Can I have a reading of the consent agenda?
Under 8.1, approval of meeting minutes, there are no items. Under final reading of ordinances, we have 8.2.1, which is final reading of ordinance 2025-11 for establishing the Durango Prosperity Office, appointing a prosperity officer, and creating divisions of economic opportunity, innovative housing solutions, and destination marketing and management, all pursuant to the Durango Charter, Article 2, Section 11, Paragraph A. Under 8.2.2, we have final reading of ordinance 2025-12 to establish a tourism commission through the creation of the Prosperity Office. Under 8.2.3, we have final reading of ordinance 2025-13 to designate 201 East 12th Street, which is the historic high school, as a historic landmark. 8.2.4 is final reading of ordinance 2025-14 for the City of Durango and La Plata County Joint Annexation Petition of County Roads 250 and 251. Under 8.2.5, we have final reading of ordinance 2025-15, amending and supplementing ordinance 1992-29 and ordinance 1998-1 for the purposes of amending the composition of the board of directors of the firefighters' old hire pension plan and declaring an effective date. 8.2.6 is final reading of ordinance 2025-16, amending and supplementing ordinance 1990-19 and ordinance 1994-24 and ordinance 1998-2 for purposes of amending the composition of the board of directors of the police officers' old hire pension plan and declaring an effective date. 8.2.7 is final reading of ordinance 2025-17, amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 16, Noise, Section 16-9, exterior loudspeakers. Under 8.3, adoption of resolutions by consent, we have Resolution 2025-24, authorizing the submission of an application for the Local Planning Capacity Grant Program through the Colorado Department of Local Affairs. Under 8.4, approval of other administrative items, we have approval of a new hotel restaurant liquor license for Oi LLC, doing business as Oi at 1017 Main Avenue. There are no items under requests for public hearing, and there are no items under introduction of ordinances. And then lastly, under requests for excused absences, we have requests for excused absence for Mayor Jessica Buell for the March 4th, 2025 City Council study session and regular meeting.
Great, thank you. Does anyone want to pull anything from the consent agenda? Can I get a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda as stated.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Can I get a vote?
Councilor Woodruff,
Yes.
Councilor Bosmans,
Yes.
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
and Councilor Youssef.
Yes.
All right, as nothing was pulled from the consent agenda, we'll move on to item 10, public hearings. We have 10.1, a public hearing regarding an ordinance for the Durango Motor Company annexation and initial zoning 25855 and 25871 South US Highway 160 and 550, submitted by Scott Shine.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Scott Shine with the Community Development Department. The item before you tonight is requesting that you hold a public hearing and then consider an ordinance regarding an annexation and initial zoning of a property down on South Highway 16550. This is the view that I thought would be most familiar to most of you. This is driving north on the highway, looking off to the east. You can see it's the old Tarpley RV site. It's actually 3 separate parcels that will be consolidated as part of this annexation to facilitate redevelopment. Staff feels like this is a relatively straightforward annexation request. It aligns very well with the strategic plan, particularly the economic development goal, and providing reliable infrastructure to properties throughout the city. It also aligns with the comprehensive plan that speaks to encouraging sound economic and social conditions by supporting a mix of different types of businesses in Durango. So this is the subject property here. You can see it's across the highway from Walmart and directly north of the existing Durango Motor Company facility. They have purchased the lots and their plan is to, once annexed, to redevelop the site into a used car dealership. Just a quick summary of some of the facts of the project. As I said, it's 3 separate parcels at a little over 4 acres. State law requires 1/6 contiguity with city limits for properties to be eligible to annex. This property exceeds that minimum requirement. The comprehensive plan shows this property is designated for commercial general purposes, and the requested zoning is commercial general, so that lines up as is required by the charter. We're also getting an offer of dedication for 100 feet of right-of-way on the northerly portion of the property. That would allow connection up to Durango Mesa at some point in the future. We've gotten some right-of-way on other projects in that area, and it's just another access point that could serve the Mesa in the future. So we're getting that at this point. We're getting the offer at this point. If we ever want to act on that, we can exercise that option and get that right-of-way. And I mentioned that lots will be consolidated. So this map shows the comprehensive plan land use designations. You can see it's surrounded by commercial general, as you would expect along the highway. There's some higher density residential across the highway, and then to the east is BLM and other public land. As I said, they plan to demolish all the existing structures and redevelop the site, build a new 22,000 square foot building. That the use that they're proposing is allowed in the zoning district, so that's all lining up well. If the annexation is approved, the next step for them will be site plan review, which is a process that goes to Community Development Commission. They'll review all the details of the site, drainage, access, landscaping, lighting, all those types of things. So that would be the next step in the process. Here are some excerpts from the Land Use and Development Code about annexations. After staff has reviewed the request, we find that it meets all the applicable criteria. And we have not received any written public comment on the project. We did have a property owner attend the Community Development Commission meeting and commented on a few things like sidewalks and lighting. All of those will be addressed during site plan review, and I was able to speak with her about that after the meeting. So at this time, we are recommending that you open a public hearing. Once you get through the public hearing, I'll come back up quickly when the first reading of the ordinance is up.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing for the proposed Durango Motor Company annexation and initial zoning.
Second.
Council discussion? Can I get a roll call? We have to vote to open it up? Yeah. I already said roll call, so we'll roll call.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Counselor Bosmans,
Yes.
and Mayor Buell.
Yes. All right, is anyone signed up for the public hearing?
No one had signed up to speak on this item.
Okay. And then, okay. and we'll do the questions at the next. So I'll close the public hearing and then we'll move along to item 11, resolutions. 11.1, resolution R-2025-0016 for the transfer of the Durango Power Plant building deed of conservation easement from the La Plata County Historical Society to the Colorado Historical Foundation, submitted by Victoria Giola. Genola, thank you. Okay, great. That was the first time I've said your last name. I'll know it.
Okay. Well, good evening, City Mayor, Manager, and Council members. I am Victoria Genola with the Community Development Department, and I'm here to present the transfer of the deed of the conservation easement from the La Plata County Historical Society to the Colorado Historical Foundation. The Durango Power Plant building is located at 1333 Camino del Rio and contains two structures, the power plant and the smokestack, in the deed of conservation easement that was created in 2008 and excludes all other buildings on the lot too. The locational map shows our project location along with a couple of recent photos from the updated survey from December of last year. As a way of background, the power plant and smokestack were listed as certified historic structure on the National Register of Historic Places in May of 1982 and as a local landmark by the city of Durango in 2007. The deed of conservation easement was granted by the city of Durango to the La Plata County Historical Society and recorded in May of 2008 in the clerk and recorders of La Plata County. And the Colorado Historical Foundation, who is interested in taking over this deed of conservation easement, is a nonprofit corporation and is authorized to accept easements to protect property of significance in Colorado history, architecture, and culture. There are several reasons for the transfer, but as a way of background and clarification, the city staff is facilitating this process on behalf of the current and future easement holders. The La Plata County Historical Society approached the Colorado Historical Foundation to initiate the process of the easement transfer, since the society does not have the resources and experience necessary to monitor the deed as a small volunteer-based organization, whereas the Colorado Historical Foundation has greater preservation and legal expertise and is certified by the Department of Regulatory Agencies to hold and steward conservation easements. The transfer does not change any aspect of the original deed of conservation easement, except that Exhibit B photographs are updated per that most recent December 2024 photo survey of the property. So this just transfers this transfer just assigns the current restrictions to a new entity. As a way of review, the section 6.4 of the easement assignment of the La Plata County Historical Society deed of conservation easement from May of 2008 does state that the grantee may convey and assign the easement to a similar local, state, or national organization whose purpose is to promote historic preservation and which is a qualified organization under the Internal Revenue Code and Internal Revenue Service Regulation. Provided that the conservation purposes for which the easement was granted will continue to be carried out. There are several sections in the comprehensive plan that speak to preservation, including Goal 12, to preserve and enhance historic and cultural resources that symbolize Durango's identity and uniqueness. Objective 12.1, to identify, preserve, and protect significant scenic, cultural, historical, and archaeological sites in Durango for the benefit of future generations. And Policy 12.1.4, to retain historic public buildings as community facilities when the building can be feasibly adapted for public use, as is our case today. The Historic Preservation Board supports the transfer of the deed of conservation easement, and staff recommends to move to approve by resolution R-2025-0016 the transfer of the deed of conservation easement for the Durango Power Plant building from the La Plata County Historical Society to the Colorado Historical Foundation.
Thank you for the presentation. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve by resolution R-2025-0016 the transfer of the deed of conservation easement for the Durango Power Plant building from the La Plata County Historical Society to the Colorado Historical Foundation.
I'll second.
Council discussion? All right, roll call.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
and Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
Okay. Item 12, first consideration of ordinances. Item 12.1, the first consideration of an ordinance for the Durango Motor Company annexation and initial zoning 25855 and 25871 South US Highway 160, 550. Scott Shine.
Just have a slide here is that you can see the motion.
Excellent. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the first consideration of ordinance 2025-XX for the Durango Motor Company annexation and initial zoning with the findings as described in the staff report and discussed at this public hearing.
I'll second.
Council discussion? Great. Can I have a roll call?
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosman's,
Yes.
and Counselor Woodruff.
Yes.
Excellent. Before I read item 12.2, our city attorney, Mark Morgan, wanted to.
Yeah, I was going to ask that this be tabled. One of the potential lessors contacted me about an error in the wording of the sublease. So if we can table that to the next meeting, I can get that corrected and get them satisfied before you make it, before you consider it. Had to do with the description of the office space upstairs versus downstairs.
Great.
Is that not an easy amendment to be made in the?
I don't know if you knew, but I took a sick day yesterday and this morning, so I just haven't been able to look at it. So I can't say whether it's easy or not. I'm just requesting that it be tabled.
I move to table item 12.2 to be considered at our next regularly scheduled city council meeting.
I'll second.
Council discussion? All right. Can I get a roll call?
Counselor Youssef.
Yes.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Mayor Buell,
Yes.
and Counselor Bosman's.
Yes.
Okay, item 12.3, first consideration of a ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, City Council, by amending Section 2-19, Rules of Procedure, Part B, Section 7.
So I'll start.
Yes.
Yes, this is a motion to amend the Durango Code of Ordinance, Chapter 2, Administration. I bring forward this motion to amend Chapter 2 of the Durango Code of Ordinances to ensure that any city councilor publicly discloses any personal interest they have in a business, property, or entity for which they are seeking a variance or public funds from the city. This amendment is necessary to uphold transparency, accountability, and ethical governance. It is our duty as public servants to ensure that the community has full visibility into how taxpayer money is allocated, especially when it directly benefits an elected official. The need for this ordinance is because we recently encountered a situation in which a city councilor.
We need a motion in a second. Sorry.
Okay,
Sorry.
then I'll keep.
Yeah, and then, yeah,
Okay.
you'll have, okay, perfect. Do I have a motion?
I move for first consideration of an ordinance amending in pertinent part the Durango Code of Ordinances, Chapter 2, Administration, Article 2, City Council by amending Section 2-19, Rules of Procedure, Part B, Section 7.
I'll second. Council discussion? Councilor Youssef, you can finish,
So the
sorry.
need for this ordinance is that we recently encountered a situation in which a city councilor who owns property on Camino del Rio applied for and received public funds in the form of a grant. However, this information was not disclosed to the public. The council only became aware of it through email exchange between the city manager and the council, in which we were CC'd. While this may not have been illegal, it is clearly an ethical concern and underscores the need for greater transparency. As stewards of taxpayer money, we must take our responsibilities seriously, and the public has a right to know when their elected officials are personally benefiting from public funds. The key reasons for this ordinance are ethical governance and public trust. Transparency fosters trust between elected officials and the community. Disclosure prevents conflicts of interest or even the appearance of conflicts that could undermine public confidence. And public officials must lead by example, demonstrating accountability and openness. We also have issues of fairness and accountability. A lack of transparency creates perception of favoritism or self-dealing. Ensuring full disclosure allows for fair and impartial decision-making. And when elected officials receive benefits without public disclosure, it erodes confidence in government. Long-term reputation and political integrity issues also exist. Being upfront about financial interests protects a councillor's credibility. Officials who practice transparency are more respected and trusted by constituents. And avoiding secrecy ensures decisions are seen as fair and impartial, strengthening the integrity of our office. Addressing the bigger issue here is recently we had a public trust survey that showed that confidence in city leadership is not favorable. The trust in favor leadership and precisely. This is precisely the type of issue that contributes to that erosion of trust. Furthermore, in this specific case, Councillor Bosmans was advised by the city attorney to disclose the grant funds received, but failed to do so. That is why I bring this ordinance forward to present such oversights in the future. For a councillor who often speaks about transparency and openness, it is unfortunate that we must take this legislative step to enforce what should have been done voluntarily. However, since it was not self-initiated, I believe this ordinance will help ensure that our community is properly informed moving forward. Thank you.
You go ahead. No, you brought it up as well, so go.
Well, thank you for letting me say my piece. We had a study session a few months ago, and it became known to me that there was this building that came up for sale and somebody had purchased it. And as we are looking to develop that corridor being Prohibition Herb, there's a new hotel right there. DFPD, Durango Fire Protection District, is also putting their new building there. We just kind of broke off the park for a different sort of plat agreement there. And I was excited to find out, like, oh, who bought this land, or who bought this business, and I couldn't quite figure it out, and I eventually figured out that it was Councillor Bosmans, which is great. I think we should all be able to have personal interests. I guess my issue was that one of my first URA, Urban Renewal Authority meetings, when I was on city council when I was newly elected, there was a URA meeting where I had a conflict of interest, even though I did not benefit personally from a financial interest from any sort of decision making that came out of that. I recused myself and made my conflict known. And in that meeting, Councillor Bosmans specifically said, I don't think that there should be any use of public funds to benefit people privately or private businesses. And that really resonated with me. I was like, oh man, there's a line in the sand there. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I see that line. I understand that. And then for me to find out that not only was there this seemingly, like, there's an application to receive public funds through a grant from the Renew grant that the city of Durango has. And then that grant was then subsequently issued, and you received taxpayer money, and he didn't disclose it. And I have an issue with that, especially when you go on record saying that I do not approve of this use of public money to be going towards this use, and then to go and take it and then not only disclose it, but seemingly trying to hide it. And I have an issue with that. And you can laugh all you want to, but when we talk about the erosion of trust, you have to understand your complicity in that by not doing the minimum of due diligence to disclose to everybody, hey, I own this building. I'm going to apply for this grant. Hopefully I'll receive it. This is the work I'm going to do. I think not only the people on this dais, but the public has a right to know when anybody up here, takes any sort of public money and benefits from it personally.
Oh, interesting. A couple of code ethics violations right there, speaking on behalf of other councillors. Let me respond to this topic here. It's very apparent that this relates to me. It's also being brought forward for a specific reason and a specific time. It's election, ballots are out. Just to give you a couple of facts, the grant application was applied for in September, I think, and council was aware of it since September 2014. It relates to me as I am part owner and manager of a property at 1175 Camino del Rio. Due to the city's actions years ago, we were required to make improvement that cost us about $15,000. We applied for a grant of $5,000, which we got. Applying for this grant was clarified with the city attorney beforehand for conflicts of interest. At not one point did the city attorney say disclose this publicly or put an ad in a newspaper. Having to spend this kind of money, even after a grant, due to the city's actions years ago, shows you how difficult it can be for businesses to operate in the city of Durango. Secondly, I am pleased to share that this property is currently being leased to The Hive. The Hive is a non-profit organization that serves our youth with programs accessible to all and particularly individuals from underrepresented and low-income communities. In our region, we have a lot of outdoor activities, but there are limited indoor spaces for the youth they are targeting. This property is located along the river trail and near the outdoor skate park and will provide a beacon of positive change in Durango and the river corridor, providing a safe and supportive environment where young people can thrive. The Hive lost their space last year and has been working with city staff since last June regarding this location, and I wanted to thank city staff for their work and support on moving this forward. Personally, I can say that I am pleased, actually I'm honored to be part of that opportunity and new location for the Hive. The Hive provides such an incredible and needed service for our youth and community. Lastly, given this ordinance amendment, as a councillor, given that I am part owner and manager of a company that owns the property at 1175 Camino del Rio, hereby notify council, the city manager, and the public of such ownership and economic interest, and that we will be applying for grants, including the Renew Grant, the Midtown Peak Grant, Lodgers Tax Grants, economic development incentives, and any other grants that may be available from the city as well as other entities such as state sources for that matter. And to clarify something, these applications and grants will be largely, if not completely, used to install, upgrade, and or get in compliance city-owned property, such as sidewalks. Yet another example of how difficult it can be for businesses to operate in our city. I appreciate you bringing this up at the time of election and trying to influence those things at the right time. I hope people pay attention to how honest this government is.
Okay.
Respond?
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Yeah,
you want to
I'm
go
just going to,
Yeah.
and then you can
Yeah.
have the additional 3 minutes. Couple clarifications. You said we've known about it since 2014. You meant 2024. Yes.
Apologies,
No.
2024.
Yeah, I assumed. I just wanted to make sure that that was right. And then I don't, as one counselor, like of course I and I'm sure the rest of council supports the Hive and efforts for the Hive. How much are you asking for leasing it from the Hive? You responded to my last question. The point is, Councillor Bosmans, it's not that we don't want you to own a building or that we don't want, I lease the floor above the Welcome Center. The second I walked in and saw that that's where the building was, because it wasn't on the outside of the Facebook ad I saw, I walked outside the building and I called our city attorney and I said, is this a conflict of interest and how do I disclose it? And I disclosed it immediately. The point is, honesty and transparency, and that's what we're here for. And we can't tout honesty and transparency if behind the scenes we're hiding things, we're writing not applicable to Cora requests, we're doing some things that just don't evoke honesty and transparency to our constituents. And so saying it is one thing and then doing actions that undermine what honesty and transparency really are, like actual definitions. And I can sit here and define for you what each of them are. I can define for you what a large part means, because clearly we don't agree on what a large part means. And but all we care about. I want the Hive to have a great place to go. It's a great after school program. I want Boys and Girls Club to be successful. I want La Plata Youth Services to be successful. That has nothing to do with what is in front of us today. As counselors, if we don't disclose this information and we're going to staff, it can be seen as like a power difference, right? They're city staff and we're the counselors that set the strategic plan and vision and mission. And so it just looks good if we agree to say, yes, we should disclose anytime we're seeking funds or there's a conflict of interest. And I think that that's not a bad thing.
I think I find it interesting, Councillor Woodruff, that you bring up the URA meetings, because I was in a meeting as well where Councillor Bosmans recused himself from voting on grant funds being dispersed to other businesses because he did not believe in our grant fund program. And yet he goes and applies for and subsequently received these same funds to make capital improvements to his building. And in this case, I believe it was to move a door. It certainly does not appear to be fair. Again, I reiterate that the city attorney advised that this information be communicated at the time to the public, but unfortunately disclosure is only happening today when I bring this ordinance forward.
Well, excuse me.
Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
I just want to make it clear to everybody, when you guys have potential conflicts and you bring them to me, I always advise you in writing whether it's a conflict or not. And then I pick up the phone, I call you and say, it's my advice to you on the political end that you disclose this. That's what I've done for Dave. That's one for Jessica. That's one for everybody. So with the scrutiny I've been under recently, I want to make it absolutely clear what my policy is. I put in writing whether or not what your issue is as a conflict, and then I talk to you personally about whether you should disclose or not. And my advice is always to disclose it.
I think that was good advice.
My only issue that I kind of want to rebut, Councillor Bosmans, is that the difficulty with the city, you're renting it to the Hive. Nobody's here to speak specifically to those. To me, like, that's just a deflection from the matter that's at hand. You're deflecting from not disclosing something that should have been disclosed because it's frankly the right thing to do at the right time. We may have known about it, but you also could have disclosed it in September of 2024, but you didn't.
No, this is very obviously a political issue, election interference, but I really couldn't care less. It doesn't matter. Our public knows. You mentioned the Welcome Center. I can also imply, actually I can state, since you brought it up, that Lucky Services, owned by Mayor Buell, is using the staff for lobby style services and handing out
Point of order.
pamphlets.
We're not.
No,
Point of order.
You brought
Point of
the
order.
Welcome Center. You brought,
Done.
and actually I'm still speaking.
When I said point of order,
Okay, tell me.
you stop that conversation about Lucky
Okay,
Services.
I'll
That's not-
move on to the next topic then. Is that okay?
So someone moved for a point of order, and that was who?
Melissa.
And what was the point of order? Sure. Well, I understand that Lucky Services was publicly disclosed, so I don't understand what the issue is.
He's bringing up other issues with Lucky Services. I brought up that I disclosed it. All I'm saying is that I disclosed that. I've disclosed and recused myself from voting for MANA funding.
Point of order.
because-
What is the point of order, and can I finish my comment? You have 3 minutes. That's it.
I think the
So
point of order is whether or not it was appropriate for you to discuss Lucky Services. And the advice that I'll give is that under the context of the fact that a counselor had something that I ruled was not a conflict and she disclosed it, that would be limited to what you could discuss here. If you intend to go into other matters about Lucky Services, I would agree that that wouldn't be relevant or part of the motion.
I'm done with the Lucky Services comment. So what is the point of order? You want me to stop? I already stopped.
No,
with
she
the Lucky
stop
Services.
talking about things that aren't relevant to this
I am
point
already
on
stopping.
topic.
I'm
Okay,
staying. So
then move on.
what is the point of order?
Go.
Are we still having a point of order that I could speak about it, but I'm done about speaking. So
Okay,
on
good.
that topic. So I just wanted to thank you to show true colors in your election interference, the timing of something that you knew about on September, I think it's 12th of September last year. But I think our community knows, and it's all good. It's
Well, it's
all
taken
good.
2 months to get this ordinance.
Are you
through.
speaking again? Because you had your 3 extra minutes. Sorry if you can interrupt me. It's really not polite.
Okay. Not sure if the public knows, it does take a couple months to get items pushed through onto final readings. This amendment has nothing to do other than counselors should disclose if they're asking for variances or money or anything in terms of benefiting them in a personal way. I don't see what the issue is. I think it's a great ordinance amending our code of ordinances. I'm saddened that it's been turned around and it's always an issue. There's just always it's always a conspiracy behind everything that's done, whether it's anything that Councilor Bosmans doesn't agree with, it has to be a conspiracy, and that whether it's the last council or this council, it's not a correct way of moving forward. Everyone is against Councilor Bosmans and
Point of
actually,
order, are we speaking on the topic or are you gonna start talking about?
yeah, you just said that you were a victim again to,
But the agenda, did
Yeah.
you just say stick with the agenda item? My point of order is stick with the agenda item.
all right, can I get a vote? Unreal.
Counselor Woodruff,
Yes.
Counselor Youssef,
Yes.
Counselor Bosmans,
Yes,
and Mayor Buell.
Yes. Item 13, public comment on city matters not scheduled for a vote tonight. Oh. Reading of the,
Public comment is encouraged on city-related matters even if they are not set for consideration by the council on tonight's agenda. Please begin your comments by stating your city-related topic, your full name, and if you are a resident of the city of Durango. Make your comments directly to the council. Do not expect a response from the council or staff. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person unless modified by council. Unused time is not transferable to other speakers. Comments must be specific to city matters. Profanity, hate speech, personally derogatory remarks, or other speech that is disruptive to the meeting will be ruled out of order by the chair, and any remaining time will be forfeited by the speaker. Exceeding the time limit infringes on the rights of others and is out of order. Only a majority vote of the council can modify time limits. Please note, you must sign up prior to the mayor calling the item on the agenda. Signing up after the item is called will result in your name not being called to speak.
excellent. Do we have anyone signed up?
And Mayor, no one had signed up to speak on non-agenda items.
Okay. Item 14, other new business. Does anyone have any new business they want to put on for new business next time? No? All right. And then the last item, 15, adjournment. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye. Aye.